Welcome to the afternoon of day 3. It's season 14 of ATX TV Festival. Hope everybody's having a terrific time. Exactly. We are here today to celebrate the Writers' Room from Shrinking, which is a show that I believe we probably all love if we're here today. Exactly. This is a really fun opportunity because we have 7 of the writers from the show, and creator Bill Lawrence, who will be here for other panels, is not here, which means that they all get to talk, which is excellent. So that will be the theme of this panel. Anyway, so if you guys have questions, at some point there will be microphones there and I will open up the floor, but let's bring people out. Up first, Neil Goldman. Bill Posley. Ashley Nicole Black. Zack Bornstein. Sofi Selig. Brian Gallivan. And Rachna Fruchbom. And if you guys need to do musical chairs, if you got stuck next to someone you don't like, feel free, no one will watch. So we have 7 of you here, and several other members of the writers' room are not here. The 3 creators are not here. That is a lot of writers. How do you guys keep any sort of organization in the writers' room, or is it just anarchy, and is this panel going to be anarchy?
The second one. Now there's a certain degree, in theory, there's some organization, there's a process that we try our best to adhere to and never fail to go off the rails. We're on the way here. I was texting with Bill and writing the episode that shoots on Tuesday. So that's how and we've been doing it all weekend in the hospital. I did it again. I keep calling the hotel a hospital. I don't know if it's 'cause I'm sure. Don't read into that. I'm mentally just fine. The fact that I'm a writer who became a writer because he doesn't like being in front of the camera or in front of people. It's still cool. Still cool. And by the way, we're all, I think, incredibly honored and touched that you guys came out for a writers panel. It's very cool. It means a lot to us. I shared it with Bill because I was working with him as we were texting in, and he's on his way to the airport, and I sent him a picture of you guys, and he wrote, "That's too many people for writers. I may have to FaceTime in and make it about me." So can't promise that will happen, but it might. I didn't answer your question, and that's going to happen a lot. It's controlled chaos, let's say. It's a lot of pivoting and a lot of some of it just has to do with the fact that Bill's doing a lot of things, and he's amazing. He's at the top of his game at what he does, and we always want his input, and he has a big thumbprint on the show and is obviously a giant part of it. And like you mentioned, we call them our what do we call those guys? Jason, Brett, and Bill. The writers call them
Daddy.
They're the daddies. Brett sometimes we refer to as a father because he's British. That's my British accent, guys. Again, not supposed to be in front of the camera or in front of people.
And we also call Neil our mom's boyfriend.
Yeah. Cool.
Who's more like a dad to us than our real daddy.
He's the dad that
more
stepped
baseball
up.
games.
I'm the cool boyfriend, right? Okay. So look, those guys are very much involved in the show, and ultimately everything goes through them. But they're busy being on set, writing other shows, doing other shows. So as involved as they are, we do a lot of the heavy lifting in the room off of the direction we're given and try to color within the lines we're given. But there's a lot of chefs, a lot of cooks, and for the fact that there are a lot of chefs in the kitchen, it's like we always say to ourselves, like somehow we do all of this, and the hours are still pretty good, and everybody still kind of likes each other. And this is a great bunch, and it's just been, it's been great.
With a room of this size, how necessary is it that there be a grown-up in the room? And is it always the same grown-up, or do you guys sort of swap that role?
It's funny because a room of this size is an anomaly now, but this was like the norm for comedy shows for a very long time, because it does take a lot of different senses of humor to create a show that a lot of different people will laugh at. And so mostly the adult is Neil, but typically, like when it's your episode, that writer will sort of take a leadership role. So it's really nice that you get to sort of switch in and out of roles. Like you can be in the room and be the silly one who's yelling out sex jokes aren't gonna be on the show, but
sometimes they are.
In our show, yeah.
Pretty often they are.
And then sometimes you can, take that leadership role and guide a script through the process. And then sometimes you get to go to set and be a producer on set. So it's a really cool job where you get to wear a lot of different hats.
And it's a job that it behooves you to be in touch with your inner child and be it's like being young at heart, and it keeps us young, I think. I'm only 24 and I look like this, so maybe not for me, but I think everybody here is very capable of being the adult when they need to be, and also tapping into their sillier, funnier, crazier, out there selves whenever need be.
And for the record, if you guys have answers to any questions that weren't directly posed to you, just jump in. Again, pretend it's like the writer's room. So, okay, we're talking about season 2, and yes, there will probably be spoilers. I assume you guys are okay with that. You come into the room at the beginning of the season. You have a cliffhanger, so to speak, to work with. Grace had pushed Donnie off a cliff, and he was either going to be dead at the bottom of the cliff or probably not. What else did you guys have in terms of a structure that you were building the season around?
We knew kind of early. We knew about the Brett character in season 2, and I think that really helped us. And we had an idea for like sort of the bookends of what that would be, and how like he would be sort of a metric for Jimmy and his growth and being able to ultimately forgive himself. And so I feel like that really helped us map season 2.
But that's sort of just the beginning and the end. What were points in the middle that you guys knew you had to hit?
We didn't know.
We knew.
And therein lies the difficulty.
I think Bill pretty early on let us know that season 2 was about forgiveness. And that really felt like a theme and a touchstone for all of us, and maybe even like a guiding light that pushed us through season 2. And whenever we were a little lost, we could always reach back and think, how is this about forgiveness? And I think we were all grateful for that. And it was really, cemented what season 2 was about. And I'm sure you guys all felt that in watching it. Yeah?
Are you buying any of this?
There was a lot of debate if it was forgiveness or guilt, and was hot debate. And so we ended up going for guiltness. So when we were reaching back, you're feeling for guiltness.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
You mentioned Grace pushing Donnie off the cliff. When Donnie, the guy who plays Donnie, when the casting emailed his agent to say, like, we want to put him in an episode, season 2, the agent wrote back in all caps, "He's not dead?" Agents who try as hard as they can to get work for their client were like, I don't know.
He's like, are you sure?
Just like story-wise, write him out.
Well, was there any possibility that he was actually dead?
Yeah, we talked about it.
We
Scientifically.
We did like math.
There was literally discussion of like how high up was the cliff.
Someone actually, maybe it was Reddit, I don't know. A physicist did the calculations. Yeah, there's no way there's no way he would survive that fall. No, we we wrote ourselves into a little bit of a corner that first season, but it felt like a great ending, and it felt like it would excite us to come back and talk about it. And we did. We go down, like, the reality is, too, like, part of the reason it's a little grueling for us is that we try to go down many paths creatively before we land on, and before Bill and the daddies ultimately land on the one we're going for. It just makes us feel like we, leave no stone unturned. And with respect to that specific thing, we have to talk about it for too much longer. The Donnie of it all was just like, it was part of the conversation was about the tone of the show. Our friend Alan Sepinwall, our mutual friend, a TV critic, and a friend of mine also was like, don't he was worried that the show was gonna, by virtue of this cliffhanger, turn into a courtroom drama or like a crime show. And I assured him, no, the show's gonna be the same, just that something impossible might have to happen in order for that to be the case. But we just creatively it was the right move to keep him alive, and again, it fed right into our theme of forgiltness.
I rewatched the season ahead of this, and two things struck me. The first is it's a really great season of television. So feel free to clap. But also, a tremendous amount of stuff happens. Like, there is a lot of plot in season 2. How did you approach season-long arcs, kind of mini arcs, while also at the same time remembering that a lot of what people like about the show is this is a group of friends who hang out and drink together?
I'm not sure. Again, not to be glib, but it is a part of the reason why the show does have like a high level of difficulty. And even Bill, who's got, he likes to modestly say 10,000 hours because he's been doing this for a very long time, which he has. But that's because he's amazing at it, and he's so talented and is gifted as far as the stuff goes, truly. But what was the question again?
Is your saying on right now? What's happening?
Bill wanted me to say all that stuff, and I'm getting it all out there.
You're saying even despite that, it's a hard show to write.
Yeah, exactly. He says it's the hard. Thank you, Rach. He said no. Bill will say it's the hardest show he's ever written. So that's, and I'm saying all that to point out like just what the significance of that coming from him, and it is for that exact reason. There's a lot of characters to service. There are a lot of storylines juggling that we're juggling. We always make some kind of attempt. There's always a grid we put up at the beginning of the year with each character and the episodes, and there's all these squares, and like the dream would be to fill them in and have this very specific roadmap for where we're going, but that never happens, in part because that's just not the way Bill thinks, and I think part of the reason is because he likes to not be, he likes to also discover things in the moment, things that you think you're going to do in episode 3 and 4. As you're writing episodes 1 and 2, you may realize like this is a better path and always go with the better story. So rather than get locked into this roadmap, we try to leave ourselves a little room, but we do try to have these kind of ideas in terms of like, I don't know, like tentpole moments, that are gonna happen. So if we don't know necessarily beat to beat, we know generally speaking what each character's arc is, what the 3 or 4 or 5 big moments of that arc is, and try to have a sense of where those will fall out in the season in terms of where they specifically go. That's a little bit of a matter of trial and error once we get into the specifics of writing scripts.
And because we have so many characters to service and there is a lot of plot, Bill, it is to our benefit to have these characters be able to interact with each other in different formations. And so it becomes that group of friends because we have so many characters that we have to write for that it's like any pairing that needs to be able to happen, that makes our jobs easier.
Yeah, and I think they're all so good. Our actors are we have such an amazing cast that we want something for everyone, so we just end up packing in so much and finding ways to put them together.
Yeah, and one of the challenges too is across episodes, it's like you have to mix it up. So if you do a Brian Gabby story in the next episode, ideally it's not just Brian and Gabby in the next one, so that's another kind of factor out there that complicates things.
I remember season 1, we were like, how do we get Jimmy's neighbor to meet his boss and be in stories together? And it's like, it's fun though. It's like fun math, kind of.
The amount of times a bowl is returned to a character from another character that have no reason to speak to each other, that is our magic trick.
Yeah. And we've also made Brian a very talented lawyer who can do any kind of law. And So we're like, how can Brian be there? We're like, paperwork. And everyone's like, yeah, good,
Yeah,
good, paperwork.
he also somehow does all of that without ever setting foot in an office. Which
Yes,
is
he
amazing.
has no hours whatsoever, and he's just hanging out at the office. So.
He's that talented.
Also, a will takes like a week. Brian's been doing Paul's will for like 20 years. That guy changes his will more than anyone ever.
There are some things that because it's so complicated and such a Jenga puzzle have to go by the wayside. There's sometimes we joke that if you like really focus on like the timeline, especially because of all the cliffhangers, it sort of means that and we do that on purpose, obviously, to get people to watch the next episode. We say it's propulsive. And I'm not sure how true it is, but we joke about like the whole series has taken place over the course of maybe like 2.5 weeks, if that.
Season 3 is Wednesday.
Basically. No, a lot happens with a lot of characters in a short amount of time. Some of that stuff we take some artistic license with, to be able to pull it off.
Well, so much of the show is very funny and is very silly at times, but also a lot of it is, there's a lot of real pain. There's a lot of real damage to this, which is what happens when you have a show that begins with a dead wife and a dead mother and everyone coping with that. What have you guys learned about how much darkness the show can actually sustain while still making people laugh?
It's a really tough balance, and what I found, whatever the Bill Lawrence formula is to me, is that you can sort of go to those darker places in these shows because there's such a core of, once you've done the work of his neighbor meeting his boss and all that stuff, that there's always going to be someone there to pick that person up, and it's often an unlikely person. And so being able to balance whatever those dark moments are with the comedy, but also like the hopefulness of showing like someone could show up, I think allows you to get away with a little bit more of it. But I also think I personally have never laughed harder than at a funeral. Like, I think that that's how life actually works, and the industry makes this sort of arbitrary distinction between drama and comedy, but in real life, this is how families operate. Like, I cannot walk in the house without someone being like, oh, we walking in the house, bitch? And it's like, here we go. Like, that's how family is. You roast each other, you joke together. There's comedy in familiarity.
Our actors also buy us a lot of goodwill. When we started, we were like, what Jimmy's doing, he's a really bad dad. But the inherent likability of Jason Segel bought us a lot of runway at the beginning, which we are so grateful for and really helped set the tone. And I think the rest of the ensemble really does the same for us.
I also think with mental health, once you can laugh at something, you process it and you can look back at it. I mean, some of the worst things that have ever happened to most people, when you're on the other side of it, you can make light of it so I don't think it's that different than what would happen in real life. We just accelerate that timeline very quickly. So I think most of us get on the other side of something and process it and find ways to find humor in it. It's just our characters, do it in a half hour. It's great.
And I think the funny is funnier sometimes when the drama is darker and more grounded. So I think that helps. And also, like, day one of the show, Bill said, everybody go around the room and tell your worst trauma. So we got there quick between ourselves.
Every single thing in the show has happened to one of us. I was pushed off a cliff and survived.
Well, my dad did die while we were writing this season, and the amount of times these people watched me pitch a joke through sobs and just were there with me through it, as the characters are for each other, like, that warmth that you feel actually exists in this room and on our set with our cast and our crew. We're really lucky. That's what my dad would have wanted. Applause for dying. Thank you.
My dad is also dead.
So is mine.
Well, that's a fun thing to get applause for. I guess when it is that personal to you guys, does that help you guys have sort of the radar on when you've properly honored the pain for these characters?
This room is so good. I find it's like such a smart open room, and sometimes it like really ruins dinner parties because you're like, everybody's boring. But I think some of it is just the innate, I don't know, just like talent plus thoughtfulness plus just comedy chops plus lived experience of this room. I'm almost think it like comes inherently in some ways.
And I think we always try to ground the emotional stories of the show. We tell so many personal stories to each other. Like, we know everything about each other. We spend 8 or 9 hours a day around one table in one room, and the one time we're not in that room is when we're going on a walk together at lunch. So we know everything about each other because a lot of that ends up, those stories inform the writing. And so we could ruin each other. We could absolutely blackmail each other.
For instance, Zack had some bad barbecue last night.
It was an hour ago.
And he may have to run to the bathroom in the middle of the panel.
There's a reason I've stayed sitting.
It's funny that when we were staffing the show, agents will often, for whatever show, if you're a showrunner and you're staffing a show with comedy writers, and they pitch their clients and they pitch what their strengths are and what their credits are and whatever. And a couple times on this show, because people knew what the subject matter was, even if they hadn't seen the script yet, the agents were calling and go, my client's really fucked up. They go through a lot of therapy. I'm like, every comedy writer does so. No, I echo what these guys. Everybody here has the lived experience and they're all like so funny, and I think that goes hand in hand with having a pretty good sense of like, what makes people tick and what's important, and I think it just for sure it reflects in the show.
And we got these jobs because we're the most fucked up.
By far.
That level of candor, how much does that then lead to continuity on the staff? Because I can't imagine what it would be like to be a new writer on season 3 when everybody else knows everything about each other and you come in new. So are you guys all together on season 3 as well, or?
Yeah, and for the most part, it's been, we had a lot of continuity, right? Zack and Ashley came season 2, and we've got a new writer for season 3 who couldn't be here because she's on set because they're shooting right now. But no, the continuity I think is hugely important, and I think you can always have. It's always great on every show to have new blood and new voices come in, new life, and fresh eyes. So I do think it's important for the longevity of any show to be supplementing their staff with new people. The key is, not to do a big overhaul at once, and there's been absolutely no need to on this show because everybody's been terrific.
I think both the continuity and the level of candor is also a testament to the vibe that our showrunners have set. I think there's this idea, and if you see like comedy rooms represented on television, people are like panning bottles and never going home, and like it's this cool rock star thing to like be tortured at work, and we come out of late night, that sometimes is the vibe there. But I don't think that you get to that level of like realness and the kind of comedy, the weird shit you can pitch when you feel so comfortable that you're like, I'm about to expose part of myself by telling you I think this is funny. And that's a testament to having bosses who create a vibe where we are taken care of, where we do have decent hours. You can say, I have a family issue, I need to go home. Like, it's not this like trial by fire to like try to make jokes while you're terrified thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you meet Bill Lawrence in like 5 minutes, he'll tell you something and you're like, dude, you sure you be telling me that? I don't know if you should be that's like, are you sure you should be telling me that? And it takes down your walls and allows you to start saying things and share. And oftentimes when you do, I think obviously we found some of the best stories to come out of it, but it's also funny to be like, when one of us sees a story that came out of another room and we're like, this wouldn't really happen, it's like, it did. It happened to Rachna. She said it happened, and it's just like, oh, damn, okay, it's real. And we are telling each other stories in this room, and it's really cool.
What did you have to do to the new writers for season 3 to get them up to speed, or to get you up to speed on their backstories?
Well, mostly we were just excited because we're like, Emily doesn't know that embarrassing story about you, and then we tell Emily that story, or that fucked up story.
You never get to be the one to tell your own embarrassing story,
no.
though. That's for somebody else.
Yeah. Also, connected to the last question too, like sometimes you bare your soul with some personal story, and everyone's like so moved, and then Neil goes, "That won't work," and you're like, it's like you're naked and you're putting your clothes back on.
what tend to be the reasons why things wouldn't work? You know, what tend to be the tones that the show can't sustain?
I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of reasons why things do work and why things don't. In terms of like, I mean, Bill uses this term trauma porn. You know, it's just a thing of like, if too many things, the show is based around, and it is in the DNA of the show for there to be this gravitas, this heaviness, this pathos, whether it was the death of Jimmy's wife or what's going on with Paul and his disease or whatever the characters are going through. So some of it is just a matter of balance. You know, it's like if too many bad things are happening to too many people, not that doesn't happen in real life, it does, but it starts feeling a little bit like, you know, you want to make it feel real and even within the bounds of the show, and not like you're manufacturing these things just for the sake of conflict or for the sake of having a story engine, which is why we try to give everybody their thing, but not, it's tricky. It's like, it's very tempting in a show that deals with, you know, trauma and deals with not just our characters, but the patients coming in to be hearing a lot of bad things happening to people. But yeah, it is, at the end of the day, it's a comedy. At the end of the day, the show is a metaphor for the fact, I think, that for community and the fact that when things get dark, it's the people around you that help. But it's also kind of a metaphor for the fact that there's always light to be found in that darkness, you know? And it is a balancing act, but again, it's part of why we give things so much thought.
Well, you say you gave consideration to whether or not Donnie had actually died, and it sounds as if even the actor playing Donnie wouldn't necessarily have been all that broken up if it had happened. But I think that if Lewis had done something bad to himself in the finale, which is certainly where things were circling, I think people really would have been hurt, would have felt pain about that. What is the draw to you guys of simultaneously protecting a character that you still have stories for versus doing something that you know will actually make your audience feel something viscerally?
Well, I think this is a thing about the medium, is that this show is primarily about Jimmy and then about our ensemble. So sometimes those choices are about, if Jimmy is over the course of this season going to learn to forgive himself for what happened in the last season, then which outcome of this Lewis story best serves that story? So the math gets so much more complicated, especially on this show where we have 8 regulars. You're like trying to not only tell authentic stories for each of them, but also how each of them affect everybody else.
Bill also sometimes uses the phrase manipulative in a good way. And I think the ending is sort of emblematic of that. He knew from the second that it was pitched that the ending would work. He's like, regardless of what the rest of the season is, this ending is going to work. And it was up for us to calibrate, you know, what version of it is going to make audiences feel but not devastate them. And I think thinking about that phrase, it's like, oh yeah, manipulation doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like it's our job to make sure that the audience feels. I think that's why the show resonates with people, but it's a fine line to toe.
And going to the theme of forgiveness, I've referred to this as the I'm sorriest show on television. I really don't know that there is any show on TV in which the characters spend more time screwing up and then apologizing to people.
Chicago Med.
I don't know that there's any show that I watch on TV, and no offense to One Chicago, it's great. What makes a good apology? What makes a sincere apology?
I mean, you gotta mean it. That's what I tell my kids. Just saying the words is not enough. But I think it's also like, I don't know, I think what we try to do in this show is we try and give like other characters the ability to like really feel what the other person's going through. I mean, that happened the biggest with Jimmy vis-a-vis Lewis. It's like the man who killed your wife. And I think I lost my train of thought.
But even Lewis, like apologizing to Alice, like Brett is such a good actor and a good writer, and he helped write that apology, and just, you know, to sell that, I was so impressed with all of them in that scene. Selling the apology, a lot of it is what you told your kids. Even if you lost your train of thought, even if you're declining cognitively, you are raising good children.
I'm in perimenopause.
As am I. And So Brett, I feel like that's it though. Like Brett, whatever the words, we work on the words, but I feel like he really sold that apology too.
And I think apology on this show we constantly talk about we say is it a fair fight, right? When two characters are going to sit down and talk to each other, do they each have a part to play in whatever conflict has come up between them? And I think a good apology, or we try and write apologies where both sides see something that they could have done better or did wrong or look into. I mean, that's not how we feel. We feel like we're always right and never apologize to each other. But when you write a good apology, I think that both characters should see just a little bit of their part in whatever the conflict is, and it feels satisfying, and it doesn't feel like one person's always coming to them going, sorry, and it just looks like it's an apology fest. And that's what I think Chicago Med's doing wrong. Is it's always one-sided, and I just it's medical things are everybody's problem. Sorry.
I think Brian brought up an interesting point, and it goes back to the fact that you guys have one creator who's your star, one creator who was a key co-star in the second season. You've got Jessica, who is a very experienced writer. You have Ashley joining the cast as an actor in the second season.
Brian as well.
Brian too.
Brian also. What does it do?
Stuart.
What does it do when so much of your cast is as talented acting in front of the camera as Brian is?
Rachna also appeared in a dinner scene right before Lois got shit-faced enough to kill someone.
It's kind of all her fault.
She was so boring.
Yeah, the backstory is that my character, not me, was so boring that he drank too much.
It was her and another writer that was on the show playing the part, and the characters were Gwen or Jen. So
I don't know which one I am.
On our headshot wall, it just says for both of them, Gwen or Jen. We don't know to this day.
What does it do for your writing to have actors who can either who can either piggyback because they're also writers, or who have sort of that shared sensibility?
It is great in terms of, we are so blessed with all of these actors who, some of who you knew coming into it, some of who you didn't, can do comedy and drama. Ted playing that storyline where Liz kisses the bad, evil Mac. He might be in the room. Ted playing the drama of that, I'm sure for some people was unexpected, like how incredible that was. So their range allows us to truly write anything, which is the most amazing gift to us as writers. The fact that so many of them are such good writers themselves means you really can't get anything past them. And sometimes you're on the set, like, script shaking, like, but this doesn't make, can you just say it? Because they're just all so good. But it's good because it, like, keeps you kind of really honest to know that, like, if this scene doesn't make sense to Harrison Ford, it's not gonna get shot. So I'm really going to, think really hard about it, even if we're pressed for time or whatever, to make sure that that journey makes sense to me from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode for each character.
Who has had to explain something particularly silly to Harrison Ford?
Everyone.
All day, every day.
Literally everyone.
I had to run in and give Harrison the alt and say, hey, Harrison, in the next take, can you please say, do you want me to pull my pants down and make my ass clap? Which is a joke that our Bill Posley wrote. And
it's my finest work.
And
it's on my tombstone.
For whatever reason, that line, 0 questions.
Also, or maybe not surprisingly, eating about 8 packets of Fun Dip for one scene, which we thought like he might have a feeling about. No, he was good with it.
Also, one of our producers Kip pulled me aside. He's like, Harrison wants to run something by you that he'd like to try in the scene. And this was season 1 at the engagement party for Brian and Charlie, when Jimmy throws up on the piano and everyone's going to react. So I go out to the fake patio on set, and Harrison has a bag of Doritos because he gets high in that episode. And so he chews them up, and someone says the line, then he spits them all out. A lot of them get on my arm. And he's like, how's that? And I'm like, pretty good. So that was his reaction to Jimmy throwing up on the piano. And I don't think it made the cut, but he did spit on me.
Now we're getting there. All right.
It's such a good cast, but does it hit different the first time you hear Harrison Ford read a line of dialogue that you wrote?
Yeah, it's awesome. And sometimes he says a line, and all I hear, what sounds like him saying is, "Get off my plane."
Along those
Am I
lines,
doing badly?
No, you're in perimenopause. It's fine.
This is your new trauma.
Oh yeah, season 4 coming at you.
so much though of the time, it feels like there really is it really feels like people sitting in a room going, what is the silliest thing we can get Harrison Ford to say? Have there been things that you've rejected as too silly to try to get Harrison Ford to say?
I think I didn't make it, but there was one line that was he told Gabby there was going to be a part where he was going to thank Gabby for helping him learn new things like how to wear cocoa butter and a do-rag. And he was going to say, I didn't know my hair could be this coiffed. That didn't make it, obviously. That was too silly. But I was praying that he got to wear a do-rag.
And sometimes the conversation literally is, okay, guys, picture me explaining what a do-rag is to Harrison Ford. Are we really going to do this?
But then at the same time, Neil, were you on set for the Thanksgiving Day speech? Because I know you co-wrote that episode. Mm-hmm. What was that like? It was
incredible, and I think the camera kind of pans around to the other characters, and those tears were real. I think Harrison would be the first one to say that to some degree. He's speaking from a very real place in terms of thinking about where he is in his life and what's ahead of him. It was I can't remember, it was Jessica or somebody said, just one of the cast was just kind of marveling at how well he was doing. I think because he was tapping into something real and it was very like palpable, and it was like, again, one of those moments where we write the scripts and the blueprint is there, the dialogue is there, the story's there, but these guys all elevate it and bring so much to it, whether it's an ad lib or just an extra layer of emotion or saying something in a way that differently than you would imagine, but just perfectly, And so going back to your other question about writers, not writers, all these actors are so good. They just take what we give them and make it terrific.
I do want to talk more about Ted, because my sense is that he might not have even been aware that he had that season of television in him. What was it like taking an actor who, I feel like everyone in this room has some association with Ted McGinley, and not just because he sort of got the bum rap as show killer, which was never mathematically accurate. But that being said, he's still, he's a veteran, he's done fun things, but he's never done anything like what you guys gave him in the second season. How did you know he could do it, and what was the pleasure of watching him pull it off?
I think part of it, we've seen him in West Wing. He was so good, and that shows that it was proof. I mean, we probably had faith in him either way, but we were, I think, 100% confident that he had the chops and the range to do it, and he was eager to step out of the guy who was just doing the one, like we used to. First season, he was what was Bill called like a joke assassin. Someone who would just come in and stroll through the scene and great one-liner and be out. But it was important to us in the second season to flesh him out as a character, and show there was more depth to the guy. And part of that is always having a character go through some stuff. But no, we had a feeling he could do it, and he did.
It's so funny because that was never a consideration to me, and I think because Ted is such a present human in life, you just know that he has.
Yeah,
depth
that's a
to
big
him.
part of it.
The difficulty of that was who's going to be the person who pitches to their boss that his wife have an affair. So I never even got to the can Ted do it part.
Yeah, and there was a lot of negotiating.
Yes.
He's like, it should just be flirting, and we were like, no, like there should be a kiss, and the kiss villain is in this room.
And he knows how many Cincinnatis
Yes,
it was.
we're very, very lucky to.
Everyone acknowledged he made good beer. What more do you want?
And it is really good.
Yes, Ashley. They had prop beer cans filled with water on set, and Ashley was on set for that episode, and with the dog on them. And then they put them in the writer's kitchen, and Ashley walks into the writer's room at like 4 p.m., cracks this can and drinks it. She goes, "That's beer." They had made some real ones as souvenirs, and then Ashley was very unprofessional.
Yeah, they just all watched me walk in the room and crack a beer openly.
Well, okay, going back to telling the boss that you're going to make his wife have an affair, Bill loves making Krista say the worst things imaginable. Like, you get the feeling that's the thing he enjoys most. What is the line at which it becomes awkward?
She's so fucking funny at it, though.
He gets to decide. But I do think there he has these moments where then he has Ted say to the Liz character things that maybe he would also love to.
You think?
He literally came on set one day and was like, "This is the speech I want to write for Ted to Krista in season 1 when he was like, get out of the house."
Sometimes, like in editing, when he's cutting it, he's mouthing the words that Derek is saying as he's saying them, just to finally be able to do so.
Following up on that, what is the room for each of you guys to have any degree of ownership over the voices of any of the individual characters?
I think we all, sort of feel ownership of all of them because everybody puts a little bit into everyone, which is nice.
But you don't have go-to people for punchlines for certain characters at all?
I think it's just whatever mood you're in. Sometimes I'm like, identifying what Paul's sense of humor is, you're kind of like, what would a cranky baby be really funny saying? And that's sort of where the spirit of the joke comes from. And so it's, if you're feeling a little bit hornier, maybe you're a Gabby that day, you get to wear different hats.
We're never horny at work.
But right now, I've never seen these people with makeup on.
I'm just going to sit back and see where things play out. Don't worry. So you guys have talked about this, about how much of the show is about taking these component pieces and rearranging them in amusing ways. So you start off in the pilot, and there are sort of the 3 or 4 different core groups of friends, 3 or 4 the core dynamics, and then you start mismatching people and seeing what works. Presumably, 1 or 2 of them you think maybe didn't work. But talk a bit about each of you, about a permutation of characters that you were surprised worked that now you love.
Brian? I don't know that. That's a good question. I don't know that. I was surprised. I know that like for instance, Gabby and Paul driving in the car singing their songs. The generation, like those characters couldn't be more different in lots of different ways, and it was just fun early on pairing them together and seeing them get such a kick out of each other. And I think and the cool thing too is like it. It really does translate to real life. Like these actors have all bonded and they have their different dynamics with each other, and that's reflected on screen. I wouldn't say it was obviously always very clear about the comedic potential of that pairing, but just in execution, it's. I think I was I was a little surprised at just how fun it is to watch them, and how much I believe that despite how different they are in so many ways, they have come to care about each other so much.
I would also say Sean and Paul, he became his patient, but even Rachna and Neil and I were at an event in LA in the fall where they screened an episode, and it was the one where Paul discovers that Sean is dating his neurologist.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But when Luke, the actor who plays Sean, sat down and then put his arm, he's like, "Hi, Paul," and then put his arm around her. The crowd at the screening just went insane, and it was so fun to see because Luke is newer to comedy, but is so funny and so lovable and such a good actor. And so seeing him and Harrison Ford just bounce off each other is great.
Who else has one?
I wouldn't say surprising, but it's always such a joy for me to see the young actors work with Harrison. Luke and Lukita are so crazy talented, and he's and Jason as well, so generous as actors. So it's really seeing this veteran actor approach this 20-year-old and be like, how are we approaching this together is really joyful and great. And we have a young actor who's joined the show in the 3rd season, and I happened to be there. He walked off set on his first take, and I go, "Was that your first scene with Harrison Ford?" He's like, "Yes." And it's great to get to witness those moments.
Is anyone not starstruck the first time they share a scene with Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like generationally you could at some point get someone young enough where they don't appreciate Harrison Ford as Harrison Ford, but you haven't gotten there yet.
Not so far.
Okay, that's good. It's reassuring. If it happened, it would probably be bad for us all. Okay, so let's get people to start lining up, and I'm now going to ask a question that will not have an answer that anyone will want to give. And that is, does anyone on the panel have any authorization whatsoever to tease anything about season 3, specifically Jeff Daniels and Michael J. Fox?
I don't know that we have authorization.
Let me pull up my laptop.
I don't even know what's out there and what's not out there. Michael, obviously, as someone who has Parkinson's himself, there's it's a storyline, or at least some appearances with Harrison that are very, that meant a lot to all of us. It was every once in a while there's a scene that all the writers just have to go down the stage and check out at least a rehearsal of or want to be around, and that was a special day for all of us. And Jeff has been in one, and he's actually about to shoot his 2 episodes now, and I wish I could tell you what they were. No, we have a sense.
Not because it's a secret. We wish we knew what they were.
If you guys have any pitches, we are in dire straits.
Join the line.
But I think it was put out that Jeff plays Jason's dad, and we're going to just find out more about what makes the character of Jimmy tick by virtue of this storyline with his dad, and also what it suggests about his relationship with Paul, as Paul being his obvious surrogate dad. I think it'll go ways to explain why Paul is such an important figure in Jimmy's life.
And if forgiveness was the watchword or mantra of season 2, do you guys have a comparable word for season 3?
On the count of 3, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3.
Moving
Forward.
Which is something that Bill has said, and Bill and Brett Goldstein. Bill and Brett. Now leave. It's our panel. Get out. No, Brett and Bill and Jason from the start went in pitching 3 seasons of the show. Hopefully there'll be many more. But they knew what they wanted to do, and yeah, it was grief, forgiveness, moving forward.
Excellent. Let's get some questions.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. So there's been a recent trend of high-profile comedies with 2 seasons that are critically acclaimed and beloved by fans before having a 3rd season that loses a lot of that goodwill.
Oh, damn.
That's our plan as well. Yeah.
First question.
Shots fired. Okay.
So how are you all approaching the 3rd season of Shrinking to avoid those pitfalls?
Panic!
We're gonna go for bad will this time around. We're just not even trying.
You know what? Yeah, fuck moving forward. Bad will.
To answer your question, I think television is like a complicated thing between keeping the show what people have already loved, but also the characters have to move forward. We're sort of beyond the age of TV where a character could be the same for 7 seasons or whatever. So it is a tricky balance to find that, we're always looking for.
What are some of the jokes or character moments you guys are proudest of?
Season 1, the character of Wally has OCD, and my therapist diagnosed me with OCD. And so I pitched a scenario that, Jimmy goes to Wally's house and they, sit on her couch, inside, outside clothes. This was something I was dealing with a lot, particularly during the pandemic. And with Zoom therapy, my therapist was like, on the computer, bring me over to your bed, let's sit down, we're gonna experience the discomfort together. And I thought, how funny, if my therapist were here and that's such an intimate act, what if the patient mistook that as it's kind of a come on and decided to kiss the therapist, and that manifested in season 1. And I told my therapist, I was like, I'm so excited for you to see next week. There's a scene that's inspired by the work that we've done together. And she watched it and she said, Sophie, I have to ask, do you want to kiss me? And my first instinct was, I can't wait to tell my coworkers about this tomorrow. And I was like, Marissa, thank you so much. I do love you, but not like that. But it's cool when you're like, this is a really horrible moment and I'm so happy that I get to monetize this.
That's tremendous. Does anyone else want to compete with that?
No.
I love you all. You are my fucking heroes. And you talked about being fucked up, and you're also very funny. And I'm curious, you should feel like that's a compliment. I'm curious if there are little things that you each have, different perspectives, like the OCD thing or the Dead Dad Club, which I'm also a part of, that you each
clap for her.
Yeah, clap for me. Thank you. That you guys tap each other for, different tastes or specializations that you bring to the room.
For sure. I mean, I remember hearing about OCD, and because it's always portrayed as tap, 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 or whatever, that, the fidgeting, and it just was so interesting when Sophie brought these different perspectives. But she's kind of the only one that's really fucked up. It's not. No, I think we all have our things, and even just I'm divorced, and so sometimes when we're teetering in there, I one time snapped at Bill and I was like, not all divorces are bad. But I think we each do have things that when those are the storylines, I think we have a little bit more investment. I think it's so helpful, and it's a really open room. It's a room that's willing to consider different perspectives, and so it's easy to be like, I'm gonna say something and you might not all agree, but this feels grounded to me, and it makes the show so much better.
Right, and I feel like also you end up being like, oh, I should advocate if I don't think this is a good storyline or joke for a gay character or, a black character, a veteran, someone from Seattle. But
or a Jew.
Or Jew.
Guys, that's HIPAA protected, so.
But early on, when we were like, oh, should we give Jimmy a friend? Because Brian wasn't originally in the pilot. And we said, yeah, he should have a good friend he's lost touch with. And Rachna said, could he be a gay character? It's a pretty straight world. And Bill Lawrence said, sure. And then we did that, and I was like, oh, that's my job. I'm supposed to do that. So I owe her an Indian character, and just keep forgetting. So.
Season 3, everyone's from fucking Seattle, guys. Just Jews from Seattle.
Also, I don't know why this made me think of this, but one of our coworkers, Annie, who's not here today, she's on one of Bill's other shows now. She actually diagnosed me with ADHD. As far as my like particular perspective, I'd be just pitching things that I thought were like funny or telling stories from my life, and she'd be like, "With love, you have ADHD." And I'd always be like, "Ha ha ha, Annie's so funny." And then I finally went to see a doctor, and the doctor said, "It's not possible that you got this far. You have such a classic presentation. Nobody's told you." And I was like, "My friend Annie?" So that's how well we've gotten to know each other.
And Ashley shared her journey with me, and I was just diagnosed with ADHD.
Our kitchen at work, every cabinet is always open. Every bag is always unsealed.
Chip clips next to an open bag.
We're all sharing Ritalin and Vyvanse. It's just a drug haven in there. It's crazy.
Have you guys had either your therapists or general therapists call bullshit on anything? Like, because obviously this is serious stuff in addition to being funny stuff. Has anyone told you, yeah, you got that wrong?
Not really. Obviously we have, but actually therapists love the show. And I think a lot of times it's like wish fulfillment for them. Some of the things that Jimmy said. So even though it's like, yes, they're saying they wouldn't have said that, it's wish fulfillment, I think the emotions feel real to them. So I think we've only had good comments from therapists.
I the biggest, aside, and they all are acknowledging that the show's a flight of fancy and there's things that, wouldn't happen in the real world, I got one note at the end of season 2 where they're just like, "I love the show. I just got to tell you, we don't refer to our the people we see as patients. We refer to them as clients." And I said, "Oops." But no, that community has been very supportive. Yeah.
Let's try to get a couple more questions.
Hey, hi, I'm Jules Crosby, queer comedy writer who recently just escaped Florida. Hold your applause. Right, thank you. And my question is, I've had the opportunity to be in a couple of writers' rooms, but I've gotten stuck in this loop of support staff positions. And I was wondering if you had any advice in activating lower level writers in terms of rising up the ranks in the writer's room. Because it seems like when you do a really great job at being a writer's assistant, they want to bring you on as a writer's assistant again and again and again. So any advice to that front?
Be bad at it, dog.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Other people are more qualified to answer that question.
Sophie started as an assistant.
I was Bill's assistant for 3 years.
Amazing.
I think be good at the job.
Be very good at it. Don't ever listen to me.
I think be so good at the job that when you pitch, people respect you enough to listen to that pitch, and that gives you a lot of runway to do another job on top of the responsibility that you've been tasked to do. I also think it's really boss dependent. I think there are certain bosses that are very selfish, that are like, I found a really functional cog in this machine, why would I replace it?
Yeah.
And there are people like Bill, who, when I interviewed for him, he said, "You do 2 years for me, then we figure out what you want to do next."
Wow.
And that was the expectation from the jump. There are people that want to mentor, like Bill, who want to invest in young talent. And I think it really, it's hard when the jobs are few and far between, but as best you can, my advice is to work for kind people, because those are the people that are going to help elevate you.
Incredible.
Yeah, if in the interview they say, "My last assistant was here for 10 years," it's
Run.
maybe not a fit.
I will give you one. I will give you good advice. I swear this time. As somebody who did not come up that way as an assistant way, the one thing I will say, the way I came up is, what are you making and what are you doing that can shine a light on you in another way? That when you are in those writers' rooms or are in those positions, and it's somebody looks to you and says, "What are you doing?" You have an answer for that.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. Honestly, whatever that looks like for you. Me, myself included, I got into a writer's room because of work I did outside of it being noticed. And nobody's gonna make stuff with you in mind. So you have to make stuff for you in mind, especially when you are on the fringe of the way society wants to see you. And so you have to make sure that they see you the way you want to be seen.
That was good. That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, I think the advice you get is a lot about working your way up as an assistant, which is a great avenue. But of the people at this couch, half of us are live performers, stand-up sketch. So there are other avenues, and it's like finding the one that's right for you.
Perfect.
And I mean, I was an assistant for 6 or 7 years. So don't give up. It's a long road, it's hard, but it's really, I'm with Sofi, like, be so good at your job that you cannot be indicted on that, and then people will give you so much runway.
Period. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for, but everyone give it up for these wonderful writers and for Shrinking.